Okay, everybody, come on in, grab a virtual seat. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. You're in the right place if you're here for the online ColdFusion Meetup. I'm Charlie Earhart, and I'll be your host for the next hour or so. And in this edition of the Meetup, our 279th, being recorded on Thursday, January 7th, 2021 at noon U.S. Eastern Time, we've got Matthew Clemente, who's going to be talking to us or presenting, like kind of going through Code and Tell, building your own tools with CommandBox. And just a couple quick announcements. One, down at the bottom, you can see that all the sessions are recorded, and the recordings are at recordings.coldfusionmeetup.com. And this one will be there as soon as the session's over. And Dan Wilson is on with us as well, briefly. He and I will hop out when Matthew gets started. But Dan and I will be on next week doing a CF Ask Me Anything. So if you haven't seen it, go to the coldfusionmeetup.com site. Look at the event for next week. You'll see there's a link with a form for asking questions for us, or you can just ask them on the session. We'll see how that goes. Dan, did you want to say anything about that or anything else before we get started?
Yeah, I just encourage people to submit question IDs early so I can research and sound less stupid than I would if they just came at me raw.
There you go. All right, man. Well, with that, let's go ahead and turn it over to Matt. All right, sir. So I'll put it on your screen. Thanks again for coming on. Take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Code and Tell session. I'm assuming you can hear me and everything. I can't see you, obviously. And what we're going to be diving into today is how we can build tools with CommandBox. I've presented a variation on this session twice this year, once at Into the Box and once at Adobe ColdFusion Summit. These are the slides from Summit. And rather than just giving that same presentation again, which some of you may or may not have seen, I thought it might be more helpful to just kind of dive in, do some coding, and work with CommandBox to build some commands. Now I'm going to drop, just so that we don't lose it, I'm going to drop in the chat so you don't lose those sessions, and Charlie can make sure that these can, let's see. I can't drop this in the chat because I'm not signed in, so you have to give me 1 second here.
Yeah, while he does that, I'll tell folks that he's got to put it into the YouTube chat for you guys to be able to see it. The StreamYard that we're using to do the screen sharing, if he put it there, you guys wouldn't see it.
All right, it's let me sign into a different account than it has here. Sorry about this.
Sure, and don't forget that when you do get in there, you're going to hear an echo, so you'll want to be able to quickly mute it.
I've got it muted. I got it muted already, and good old two-factor authentication.
Of course, of course.
Sorry about this. Copy.
No problem, no problem.
Got it. And am I in yet? Am I in yet?
Drum roll.
All right. Sorry about this. Oh my goodness. There we go. All right. I'm me. Yes, Google. I'm me. All right. Here we go. Well, let me put it in the chat now. If not, I'll share it later because.
Well, we'll see it. We'll see it show up on the right there in StreamYard if it does get through. Like you can see, Dan has put some comments in. Yeah. And he would have done that through his Google or YouTube.
This is, it's being a little annoying. I'll share these after.
You can drop it in the chat and either Dan or I will put it in.
There we go. I'll do that then, yeah. So in case you want to see the full session, Charlie or Dan will share these links. Adobe's got a bunch of videos from CF Summit. Mine is one of them there. About building a CommandBox, and I'm also from Into the Box along with content on CFcast. The link to mine in there, but that's full dive into CommandBox and all its details. If you want a more detailed, structured session other than that's more informal. So with that, CommandBox, for those of you who don't know, is a tool built by Ortus Solutions, and along with the ability to run ColdFusion servers with the box server start command, which is how I dove into CommandBox, there's the ability for you to build your own tools in ColdFusion. I've built a handful of them. I'm going to run through here to the end of this session, or close to the end of the session, because when I'm giving it, that's where I usually end up having to cut things short. You can build what are called custom commands. And what this is when you're in the terminal, and I'm going to jump over to the terminal now, and you are in CommandBox. So I'm running box to hop into CommandBox here. You can run your own commands and build your own commands. Let's clear that out. To do pretty much anything you want. So I could say, what do I have here? I wrote one at one point called banner hack, and actually I don't even know if I have it installed here. So helpful tip here, and this is what I usually do at the beginning of the session. Anywhere in CommandBox, you can type help to see a list of available commands. So I'm going to run help here, and it shows me all of the commands that I have. So I do have the banner hack command, which I wrote. Banner hack. So let's clear this out so more shows on the screen. And what you'll see here, this is a fairly useless command, but I worked on it just to get my hands dirty building custom commands. When CommandBox loads, there's this entry banner that gets shown, which you'll see in a second, CommandBox, and it has some information. And you'll see here right now, it says that it's 11:20, and that's not true. It's because the last time I was working on it, I put that there. Sometimes when I'm live streaming, I like CommandBox to say what the current date is. So I made this banner hack command, which will manipulate what shows here. Like I said, this isn't a practical thing, but this is just one of the things you can do with CommandBox. So I'm going to change that for this session, and I'm going to have, I think, what is that? That's not the quote. I think that's the welcome. I'm going to change the welcome to say, hello, online CF Meetup. And if all goes well, and I reload, we'll see that. All right, waiting. Hello, online CF Meetup. I know, not the most impressive thing in the world, but one of the commands that I've built with CommandBox. So we're in the terminal here, and CommandBox gives us the power to write commands like that, and cooler ones, using CFML. And now when I say like cooler ones, I'm also going to jump along a little further in my in the presentation here, because this is a section that I always cruise through. But there are on ForgeBox, which is a repository of CommandFusion tools, there are a lot of CommandBox modules that you can kind of see and get inspired by. So I can scroll down here. I have some of them here. One of them is CommandBox Bullet Train. So what this does is when you install CommandBox by default, your shell looks kind of lame, and it gives you some valuable information here. It's one of the first things I install when I install CommandBox. The CF docs command is by Pete Freitag of Foundio, and it gives you access to cfdocs.org from the command line. So I'm going to hop in here. Basically, what I'm thinking I'll do right now is I'll show you some of the existing commands, and then we'll look into how we can make our own. But I like showing people what's out there because there's some really helpful and powerful commands there. So I don't know if I have CF docs installed right now. So if I do CF, now another helpful thing that I always say at the beginning of the presentation, CommandBox has built-in help and tab completion. So the tab completion comes tremendously in handy. You start typing and you tab there, you can see what commands you have available, and I do. See, CFDoc was auto-completed there. I do have CFDoc installed. Now, I don't know what I can type next here. I don't remember what the arguments are for this command, But unlike most terminal things where I would be lost at this point, I can just hit tab and I see what the next option is. And then if I hit tab again, I know that there's, 949 options. CFDoc gives us the documentation for ColdFusion tags. So I'm imagining what I want next here is maybe the docs for query execute, query add column, query add row. So let's find query execute, tab completion. So CFDoc query execute right here on the command line gives me the documentation from cfdocs.org. This can be really helpful. I mean, I'm referencing docs and CFDocs all the time, and the fact that Pete put this together so that we have access to this from the command line is super useful. I'm just going to hop and look in the comments here just to see if anything's coming in. Okay, cool. So CFDocs is here. That's one of the very useful ones. Any ColdFusion tags that are on CFDocs tags script, it's pretty comprehensive and it's constantly updated. You can access them from the command line using this CommandBox custom command. And what's really cool, I don't know if I have the link here. Did I link to it when I was in the presentation? Let's see if I did. I did. Yay me. So here's the CFDocs command on, and I'll zoom in a little bit here so you all can see it. This is on forgebox.io. Pete's got his documentation for it. And the thing that I like to do when I'm looking at things like this is I actually go, I mean, this is open source. So you can see how Pete built this command and how he structured it. And if you were interested in doing something similar, I mean, the code, it's ColdFusion code. You can read it, and it's all right here. And that's true with all of these commands. So we got CFDocs. What else did I put here? In CF format. So John Berquist built this one, and you can use it to format your ColdFusion code. So one of the neat things with it, and I'm not going to run through the whole thing, is there's a wizard that I think he put together with Eric Peterson. Let's take a look at the command here. And basically, if you want, spaces inside your parentheses or wherever you want line breaks, basically every formatting setting you can think of, they can take care of with this cfformat.json file, and you don't need to write it yourself. You can walk through. Let's see if he has. Does he mention the wizard here? Settings show, settings watch, check, format, overwrite. I'm trying to see this in the docs. If I hop over, because I don't remember what the exact command is, I don't know if I have time to use tab completion again, if I have CF format installed right now. The reason I don't know is I'm frequently, so I do not have, so perfect. We'll show how easy it is to install these commands that already exist on ForgeBox. So I'm going to install this command. I'm in CommandBox and I'm running install CommandBox CF format. And it's going to install that for me. And as soon as it's there, I'll be able to use it. So maybe I'll use that later in this session. Shell's going to reload. Oh, not quite yet. All right, clear. So now I have the CF format command. And the tab completion here shows me what options are available. Settings, I believe, is the one. So there we go. CF format settings wizard. We'll just take a quick look at this. I'm not going to run through the whole thing. Is a super helpful thing where they walk you through every option and you can pick your preference. This is not what I intended to do when I got here, but it's just very cool. So I don't know if you can see this, but when this option is set to true, CF format will attempt to align consecutive variable assignments. So if you want your variables aligned when CF format runs, you just set this to true. Otherwise, you set it to false, and it'll leave it the way that you have it. So say I want that true. I'm not going to run through the whole wizard because there's tons of options here. So I'm going to escape out of that. But that's CF format, and it's a really, really cool custom command that can make your code look exactly the way you want your code to look without a whole lot of effort. Let's close that. What else did I put in here? I'm not going to run through every one of these. CommandBox update check checks if any of the modules that you have require updates. There's a number of code quality commands. So I don't know if you're familiar with CFLint, a linter. I'm not going to run through each of these, but they're totally worth checking out. This one I think is by Ortus, and it can check for a number of issues in your code. That's what all of these do. Whether you're following certain best practices, you can customize which rules you want applied, which ones you don't. But they're all there. CFLint is similar. It can check for non-var scoped variables, things of that nature. Really helpful for making sure that your code is the best that it can be. Fixinator is by Pete Freitag again, and it's also used to find errors in your code, and it actually has an auto fix option. I'll leave all them to explain the benefits of these, but some really helpful code quality commands. And then finally, before I need to actually get in and start writing some code here and showing you how to build these types of commands on your own, one of the ones that I really liked, and I mentioned it on the Modernize or Die podcast at the end of last year, let's go to ForgeBox, is a forgebox.io, is a bookmark. I think it was bookmark. Yeah, bookmarks command. And you can use it to bookmark directories and then quickly jump around. So rather than having to type out the full path or even use tab completion to move around, you can bookmark the common directories that you access and quickly jump to them, list them, delete them. Just a really helpful command. So I like all those. They're all out there. It's very easy to install them, as you saw. But we'd like to build some of these on our own. Obviously, that's what this session's about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can do that, and I'm going to jump back to here. So custom commands are a module. Another word for a module would be like a package. They're the folder that contains some code that does things. The way that they are structured, they follow certain conventions so that CommandBox knows how to use them. And what you can do with these, along with the other features that CommandBox has, is you can write, you can basically harness the full power of ColdFusion. Anything you can do in ColdFusion, you can really do with these custom commands. And as I'm sure you know, it's a lot more fun to write ColdFusion than it is to try to figure out how to write a proper bash script. So custom commands, they're a module, they're a package. You write ColdFusion, you can do anything you want. The way that they're structured is within your package, within your folder, there's a module config.cfc file. This, like if you're not familiar with ColdBox, it doesn't matter. This shouldn't intimidate you at all. It's basically there just to tell CommandBox that this is a module, that it can do something, and that CommandBox should treat it as such. Box.json is there. Again, shouldn't intimidate you. It can be generated automatically, and it's there to tell CommandBox. It describes basically the contents of the module. And the real thing that we care about is within a commands directory, that's the convention, the commands directory, are these CFCs that contain our commands and our code. So given this structure here, your command module config in command, the command that would be created here would be hello. Hello.cfc would be the command. You'd just type in hello, and this method would get run. You also have the ability to do namespacing. So this gives you the ability to organize the commands that you're developing. In this case, a say directory. These commands would now be say hello. So you'd type in say and hello, and this CFC would be executed. Same for goodbye, say goodbye. So namespacing is just done via folders within the commands directory, and it's done to organize your code. It's not necessary, but as commands get more complex, it's a nice way to organize things. All right. I am going to walk through this one line at a time, and it looks like it's a wall of code, but it's not, and it's pretty straightforward, and I'm going to explain it, and then we'll actually start doing it. This is how we're just going to set up a really basic custom command here. So make directory example command. Obviously, we need a folder to have our project in. We're going to make that module config CFC file. And then within CommandBox, we're going to run package init. So that's what creates the box.json file. We'll set the name of our command, package set name. We'll set the slug. So the slug is an identifier that CommandBox will use when it's working with your custom command, your module. One of the most important settings is we will set the type to be CommandBox modules. So that tells CommandBox that this package, this folder, this module, is going to be extending CommandBox functionality, and CommandBox should treat it as such. It tells it, where it should be installed and how it should be used. So that's important. Within the directory, we'll make a command folder. And in this case, for this just like super basic example, we're going to create CFC, our command that with date, and then I'm going to open that up in code. So let me copy this. Here. Let's see what happens. All right, all that ran. We got it opened up. So we are now in our example commands directory.
Hey, Matt,
it
can you
was
hear me?
generated automatically, so we didn't need to do much here, and we can fill it out more later. Not terribly important for right now. Our module config CFC. I think I have module.
Hey, Matt, can you hear me talking?
For generators. I'll just copy it because I don't remember what my shortcut is. Our CFC is where we will be building out our command. And I can't tell right now. I feel like my internet might be a little slow. So if it is, apologies for that. All right. Okay, so moving right along.
Hear me? Seems like someone Matt's not hearing me.
Sorry, I'm hearing you, Charlie.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm hearing you now.
I've been trying to interject for about a minute, and I just kept saying, Matt, can you hear me?
Apologies. No, I couldn't hear you until now. Sorry for that.
No problem. So yes, for about the last minute, it's been really jittery audio, especially, and sometimes video. So again, if you look and see, is there maybe something that's kicked in on your end that's stealing bandwidth or CPU?
Yeah, give me a second here, and I will check that. All right.
While you do that, let me explain for everybody else that he had an issue, right? And I had turned off the camera earlier. I don't know why. Yeah, in fact, Matt, you might just want to disable your camera. We don't really need to see you. I mean, it's lovely to see you, but we don't need to see you.
Sure, yeah.
So that's a good thought.
Yeah. It's a good call.
Joshua's suggestion to turn that off. That's, by the way, why I don't do one, because I'm on low bandwidth, and that can be an issue. But while we wait for him to resolve whatever else he may have had in mind, he had an issue before we got started where somehow his main internet service wasn't working, so he tethered his phone, and I've done that before. But it can work, and it's just that all it takes is something to use a little bit of extra bandwidth, and suddenly it goes a bit wonky. So he was looking to see if there was anything else he can do. But between the camera being turned off on your end, right? You've disabled the camera.
Yeah, my camera's off. Yep.
anything else you might have done. Let's go ahead and proceed and see how things go.
Sorry about that, everyone. So,
Good
not sure what we lost there. Hopefully,
I think we got most of what you said. It was just a little bit choppy.
Hopefully it stays stable now. Camera off. All right, I am gonna hop back. All right, so we're building our command here. We have our commands directory. We have our date command. We have our module config.cfc. And like I said, the module config.cfc is not something that you should necessarily be intimidated by, because at its most basic, all that's required is just an empty configure method. So all that's required is that it looks like this, empty configure method, and we don't need to worry about that anymore until we start building more complex custom commands. And then we also have our date, and what was my shortcut for this? There we go. Within our custom commands, all that's required, or what's run by default, is this run method. So right now, it's going to return 9, but we'll just test it now. Date time on. Okay. Custom command date, and we have our box.json and our module config. So how do we actually, we seem like we have all the ingredients here. How do we actually run this? I'm not CommandBox in this one. All right, CommandBox. That got opened in a separate VS Code window, which is why CommandBox isn't there. So I'm opening it up again. All right, jumping back. The way that we tell CommandBox, if you don't install a custom command from ForgeBox, if you're working on it on your own, the way that you tell CommandBox that you're building a custom command is by running the package link command. And what that does is it creates a symlink between the directory you're working in and the CommandBox core. So it knows that that is now a custom command that you're developing there. The package unlink command, unsurprisingly, will remove that symlink for you. So I've run package link, and I have a basic command set up here. The command's name is date. So if I start writing date, I've got that command there, and it returns the date formatted in a long format. I just want to step back here and just walk through this, so that it's clear one more time here. It's really the way that this is structured, at least the way that I feel, is like this convention is really nice to use, and it's very straightforward. A commands directory with the CFC, and the name of that CFC is the command that you run. The code that gets executed is within this run method, and then you're just kind of free to use ColdFusion. You can write helper functions, you can do anything you want. Your imagination, unfortunately, is the limit. And the box.json and the module config are there kind of as supporting characters. So we have a very basic custom command that we've built here, and just to show you how it's working, if I switch that date time format to short, well, first of all, there's going to be a problem. So I switched the date time format to short. If I run date again, it's not changed yet. The issue is that because we've hooked this into the CommandBox core, to tell CommandBox that it's changed, we actually need to run reload. So that's a thing that has tripped me up a number of times. Once you reload CommandBox, it will pick up the changes that you made to the custom command you're building. So we'll run date again, and in this case, we have it in a short format. All right. I mean, obviously, that in and of itself is not a particularly interesting custom command, but as we saw with CF docs, CF format, all those types of commands, the sky is kind of the limit. One of my favorite use cases for custom commands is scaffolding. So if you have a directory or a basic project skeleton where you find yourself copying and pasting and then going through and running a bunch of find and replaces, that's like an ideal use case for building your own custom command to scaffold the process. If we hop back to ForgeBox, I'm going to show you two ways that I've done this. All right, let's hop back to the right place where ForgeBox is. I found myself writing a lot of API wrappers. So I built a template, my API wrapper template, and I don't know if anyone uses this other than myself, but I use the same structure for pretty much every API that I am interacting with, because it's REST under the hood. It's effectively, they're all different, but they're all the same, and the way you interact with them is generally 95% the same. So what we can actually do here, I didn't plan on doing this, but I could open up, if I can find it, the API wrapper template, and we can just take a look at this this custom command. And that's the docs for it, and that's that, and that's that. So you're seeing here, and I can zoom in a little bit more. This is my API wrapper template project. We have our commands directory, because that's the convention. I have an API wrapper namespace here, which, to be honest, isn't entirely necessary. The command just didn't need that level of organization, but I didn't know that when I was getting started. And I have a scaffold and a scaffold wizard command. And then what I did was I added a template directory, and what we have in here are a bunch of stuff. So this is not the established approach for doing stuff like this. Is an approach that I think I copied from Eric Peterson from one of his projects. But what we do in what I do in the scaffold command is I copy from these stub files. Like, this is that base, it's the directory that you always copy from, and I copy them, and then I replace variables in them with things that I've taken in from my custom command. So I'm very zoomed in here. So this is going to lead me into the next section. Within this run method, which is much more complicated than the date run method, there are a number of arguments. These arguments I use on the stub files, and I run find and replaces within them. So whatever gets passed into my custom command, I use to replace in my template file. Two things here, 2 points. The first is that scaffolding things and eliminating repetitious work is a great use case for custom commands. The second thing is we should probably take a look right now at how we pass arguments into custom commands, since that's important for extending their functionality. So we have our example command here, and I'm just going to hop back to my presentation code here to see. I think I have some info on this. Close that. Right, package link, package unlink, help and completion. Oh, I didn't do arguments yet. All right, I'll do the arguments. I'll just show you how we add in arguments. Arguments are added in just the same way that you would pass an argument into a regular ColdFusion function. So we might say string format and default it to be short. And then we can just pass this variable in here, string. So it'll do a date format based on the format that we pass in, and it'll default to short. And if I reload here, I can run date, which will do the short date, but I could also do date long, and that will give me the long date. I've passed that argument in to my function, and I can do date, month, month, day, day, year, 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 year. So that's how we, at a very basic level, how we pass our arguments into our custom commands. And there is support for both named and positional arguments. So I could also do, if I have back to the terminal, and I do clear, I could run date format equals long, and it'll get picked up the same way. So just passing the arguments in that way is okay. But what's nicer is to provide tab completion. Tab completion and help. That's one of the things that I like most about CommandBox, is that it has a lot of built-in tab completion and help. So when I'm building a custom command for myself or for others, I try to make sure that I fill in the help and the tab completion. This is done via Javadoc style comments. So Javadoc style comments here at the top provide the basic help for your command. See, then if I go up, Javadoc style comments, then Javadoc style comments above your function, for your arguments, .hint and .options can be used to provide help for your for the arguments for your commands. And me saying all those words isn't particularly helpful. I think I'm going to show you that's generally more useful than word vomit, as it were. So I'm going to make this CFC. Jump back over. So I'm going to make that exclaim CFC. Open it up. And I'm going to fill it in with that code that we had here. And then we'll get a better look at what it actually has. All right, so we've made a new command here. This one's called exclaim. I'm glancing at the comments here just to see if I've missed anything. All right, I'm gonna circle to the comment. I haven't been paying tons of attention to the comments.
That's okay. There's just the last two. All right. Is all.
George. I'll circle
if you want to
to them towards the end. Yep. So leave your comments in the chat. We won't miss them. I will make sure that there's time for them, and we'll go through them. So feel free to post them there. All right. We have made a new exclaim command here. And you'll see at the top here, we have Javadoc style comments. This information is going to now be available as help for this exclaim command. So the exclaim method, craft your own avian exclamation like Ben Nadell. And we have an example of here of how it's called. Then within the component, you'll see again, it's just a run method. The run method is what's called by default. We have these comments, which are describing bird. Bird is the only argument that this function takes. Bird.hint will be provided when we start typing the command. And this is really cool. Bird.options is there, and it will give tab completion for what possible options are for our bird argument. Okay, enough words. We will clear. That's saved, I believe. I believe that's saved. We'll reload to make sure it's picked up. And we will run help exclaim. So you'll see here, this information here, craft your own avian exclamation. This is the help that we provided here at the top of our command. Super useful for someone who's trying to figure out how this command works, especially when that person is you, 3 months after you wrote the command and you don't remember how you put it together. And what's really helpful here, one of the very cool things about CommandBox is it does a lot of things for you. So like it knows the arguments because it just reads the function. It knows that there's a required string named bird. It's just pulling that out of your own code and using it to generate documentation for you. And if we jump back, you'll see, so our bird argument .hint has information here, and this is provided in the help for the command. All right, so we're going to run clear here. So we have our exclaim command, and we know it takes a bird argument. Exclaim, if I type tab, I get my tab completion, and it knows, first of all, that bird is the argument, and then it also knows what the possible options are. Chickens, flamingos, penguins. Let's go with penguins. Oh, my sweet penguins. Thank you, Ben Nadell. The way that those options were provided is with this bird.options comment. CommandBox knows whatever you put here are the available options for your custom command. So if you want to, make it easy for someone to use, you just define them there. So let's just jump back to that, just so that it's clear. Exclaim autocompletion for bird equals, and my list of available options are right there. It makes it really easy to use your commands when you provide the actual options that are available. Now, I think I have a default there. It's not going to work. So enter type of bird, chickens. There we go. Oh, my sweet chickens. Before I go too much further into this, I want to jump back to the most valuable resource that I have not talked about yet, and that would be the CommandBox documentation. So commandbox.ortusbooks.com. When I'm working on custom commands, I have this bookmarked and I'm coming back to it constantly. It has a tremendous amount of information, very detailed examples. It's so helpful. So just so you know that what we're talking about, we have our developing for CommandBox section, and by we I mean Ortus has put it together, which is not me, it's them. And I'm talking about tab completion. Everything that I'm showing you here is explained in this tab completion and help section. So here are those Java doc style comments that I mentioned. Parameter help, the hints that I mentioned are laid out here. If you forget anything that I wrote, you can either watch this again, but going to the docs is probably a quicker way to get an answer. And then parameter value completion. Oh, so this is also this is a very cool feature, and it's not necessary for this particular command that we're working on. But by default, if your argument is named directory, destination, file, or path, you automatically get completion from the file system. So let's just take a quick look at that. So if we, this is not particularly useful for this command, but if we added another argument and we said, required string directory and reloaded. Like I said, directory is not useful for this command, but I just want to show you how cool that completion is. We can do with it exclaim. We know that there's a bird, so we'll say chickens, and then it's giving me completion for the file system right here. So it's showing me commands, directory, commands. Will it give me the next thing within that? Exclaim, not quite. So built-in completion for those particular argument parameter names. And you can get that without those parameter names. It's automatically available by default for those. It's very cool. All right, what we just looked at with the exclaim is the parameter name, the argument name, .options. In that case, you can just add a, we have a comma separated list. CommandBox parses it. Options are great. But we saw how Pete Freitag's cfdocs command, I mean, that had everything from cfdocs. Obviously, he doesn't have an options thing here with a comma-separated list of 957 options or whatever it was. So there's obviously a different way to provide that type of tab completion. And the way that what you can do there is with an options UDF. What you do here is instead of doing parameter name dot options, you say parameter name dot options UDF, and you give it the name of a function. That function can do whatever wild logic you want and return the options that you want. So I'm pretty sure, although I have to go check it again, what Pete's command does is makes an API call out and pulls in all that information so that it is then available in tab completion. And that way also, it's always up to date. It makes the API call out to cfdocs and pulls in the fresh info so that you have a list of, all of the great ColdFusion tags and functions. I think I have a basic example of how this works. So we'll hop back to the slides. So we had static options here, parameter name.options. But what we could do is we could do it with an options UDF. So I'm just going to replace that whole exclaim command, and we'll take a look here. All right, so in this case, instead of bird.options, we're doing bird.options UDF. And we have here the name of the UDF, the user-defined function, the function that will return our options for tab completion. Here, I mean, in this case, I don't have any logic going on, but I have a function in which I could have logic, and I'm returning a much longer list of available birds using this function. So we'll reload just to take a look at how that works and show that you can call a function to get your arguments. Saved, reload, clear, and we'll run exclaim. And now we have 33 available options. And if I start typing S, you'll see CommandBox automatically narrows it down to the S options that are available. SA, sandpipers or sapsuckers. We'll go with sandpipers. Oh, my sweet sandpipers. Again, what I'm trying to do here, I think, is show you, one, how all of this works, but then also balance it by showing you, commands like the API wrapper template and cfdocs. Like, you can use this to build some very neat stuff. All right, back to the presentation. So we've looked at how you can provide help to users. We've looked at how you can provide tab completion, all of which is in the CommandBox documentation if you forget how it works. I'm going to give you a quick overview of how you can handle user settings, because this is one of the things that sets CommandBox custom commands apart from some of the other really cool features CommandBox has, like task runners. What you can do with settings is you can give users the ability to override particular aspects of a custom command. So rather than them having to pass in arguments, or rather than everything being based on how you think it should work, if you have different team members who approach things different ways, settings can be a place where you configure that. Settings are defined within your module config.cfc. So like I said, all that needs is an empty configure method, but as your commands start getting a little bit more complex, you can use that to add that functionality. So we'll hop over to our example command. We'll open our module config, and within it, we have this settings struct. This settings struct is defining the settings that are available for our module, and it's also setting the defaults. So if a user hasn't overridden settings, and we'll get into how that's done, if a user hasn't overridden settings, these are the settings that will be used. So how are those called within our actual function? I'm going to copy this. Did I make a new command for this, or am I just doing this on its own? I'm doing this on, okay. Copy. I'll do this in the exclaim command, since it's kind of been our playground for trying different things out. All right. Settings for your module are defined with a property declaration. And there's a handful of ways that you can get settings. So you can either get particular settings, or you could get a struct that has all of the settings for your module. I'm going to hop over to the CommandBox documentation too, because actually I think I have a link to it down here. User settings, that's a video on it. User settings. Let's scroll down. How do we get them? That's how they're used. That wasn't the one I wanted to link to. Okay. I wanted to link to this one. Yes. So right here in the CommandBox docs, we can see the range of settings that we can inject as properties. So you could inject all module config settings, the ones for a particular module, the settings. This is the config for the module. This is the settings for the module. Or you could grab a particular setting using this notation. In our case, we are grabbing, so CommandBox module settings, and this right here is the slug for our module. So settings here is the struct of settings for our module. By defining it here as a property, I can use it within my run method. And what I'm doing here is I'm printing it out to the console so we can see what those settings are. So let's just reload to make sure that those settings got picked up. And we're going to run exclaim because that's where we put it, and that's not how we spell exclaim. Oopsie. Did I reload? I don't think I reloaded. Either I didn't reload or I didn't save, and that is the exclaim is saved. Reload. Clear. All right, let's do it again. Exclaim. There we go. All right, so the print helper here shows us our settings for this module. We just wrote that out to the console using this injection DSL to get them. If we wanted a specific setting, we could do something like, I mean, the name here is arbitrary. So, but if I was going to grab, we had one was bird, right? So I think we hop back to our module config. One of the settings is bird. I could do, I want to grab the bird setting, and then we could output that specific setting that we grabbed. So let's just reload, clear, and run exclaim again. And that should give us our bird setting. All right. You can have settings in your module. You can use them within your custom commands, but how does a user override them? And after this, I'm going to jump to questions because I'm realizing I'm running low on time. The way that a user overrides your settings is simply by running config set and then the path to the particular setting that the user wants to override. So when a user runs this, the setting gets overridden and their particular setting will be used. So I don't want to set all of those. I only wanted to copy one of those lines. Can I just grab the one? I can. Oops. Well, I just messed up my copy and paste there. I jumped to the end of the setting. So you're going to have to take my word for it that works. Config, okay. That's, you know what? It does not want to play nice. I don't want to get too bogged down in the details there. We didn't get to build anything particularly awesome there, but I got to spend a little bit more time on custom commands than I usually do when I'm presenting these. Bottom line is there is a lot of power and functionality there. You can use it to build pretty much anything you can think of. I would look at the existing CommandBox modules on ForgeBox because one, there's probably one there that could do something awesome for you, and you wouldn't need to build it yourself. But also, they provide a great jumping-off point for you to build your own. If you want to scaffold something, if you want to, work with the directory structure. All of that stuff has been done and it's out there. So between the docs and the existing commands, there's a lot to go on. And you can just build something awesome. We've got, I think, at least 5 minutes left here. So I did want to leave a little time for questions. So I'm going to open up the chat here. Is that you, Charlie?
Yep. So I was just going to say still the only outstanding questions were the last three, actually two,
Okay.
and then one comment. So if you look at the fourth one from the bottom, it may show your time. I don't know what time zone you're in, but about a half hour ago, 30 minutes after the hour, George Murphy asking.
So George, you know what? I have not tried putting a watcher in place. It seems like something like that should be possible, to listen for saves and then run reload. It's definitely worth looking into, and I would think that it'd be possible, and it would make a lot of sense and make life easier. So I think I will look into that, but I haven't actually done it, so I'm not positive. John Farrar said, you mentioned scaffolding. Can we use ForgeBox modules to template out our scaffolding within another project? John, I believe so. Which I don't know what module CBT is. But you can use existing modules, within CommandBox and within custom commands. So you could, I believe the answer to your question is yes. You should be able to use existing ForgeBox modules to scaffold out other projects.
He clarified later that by CBT he meant
ColdBox templates. I believe so. You've got access to the Jeff McLean. I'd want to run a reload and a clear. But John, I believe again that the answer is yes. You should be able to use existing ForgeBox modules within custom commands. It might take a little massaging to get it to work, but I don't see a reason why not. And then,
well, before we jump to the last couple questions that hopped in, John had offered a comment about 5 minutes ago when you were doing some copy paste. He said use the Alt key for copy paste to avoid UI defaults.
Yeah, I tried that, and that's when it gave me that zoom in that you'll see on your screen in a second. It's I think the Slides app's taken over, and I'm getting it. Are you gonna give it to me this time? No. And then I hit Shift to copy it, and it takes me to the end of my presentation. And I don't feel like typing it all out.
Here's the question from David: when you're building these commands, can you just use task run instead of linking the package?
So if you're gonna do so I think there's a difference between custom commands and task runners. Task runners, which I did not cover here, but which are covered in the slides and in the videos on Adobe's site and on CFcasts. I dive into task runners quite a bit. They do not need a reload. And with them, you don't get the same degree of kind of control and configuration that you get with custom commands. But one of the plus sides is that you don't need to reload them. They're very powerful. For those, you would not need to run reload. If you're building a task runner, no reload is needed. And you can build some really powerful tools that, I mean, you could build something that does scaffolding with a task runner. So I think the answer is task runs needed for task runners, which aren't custom commands. If you're working on a custom command, you're going to need reload. And to George's point before, setting up something with a watcher would be really helpful. And I'm going to maybe try to do that. All right.
I looked away for a moment. Is this what you had just commented on? Was what George said?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, using it to scaffold Terraform modules seems like it makes a lot of sense. You know, I haven't used Vue's CLI UI, so I can't comment on that one. But I'm sure John will keep bothering Brad about it until it gets done.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it for the questions that were there from before. There weren't any outstanding. So if anybody has any others, now's a good time as we get close to wrapping up. And is there anything else you might want to share? I did put the 2 links you gave me. I got them into there earlier. Is there anything else you might want to get in there?
If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Check the CommandBox docs. You can reach me on the ColdFusion Slack channel. I'm happy to help if I can. And no, that's it. Just have fun with it. I really enjoy working with stuff like this. It kind of separates you from I don't know, networking and DevOps and all that stuff, and you're just working with code. So I just encourage people to give it a try. It's coding, I think, at its most fun and practical.
And I just dropped in your link for your blog.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. George said, do you have a link for the Adobe videos? George, that was one of the links that he shared, and I shared it earlier. Just a second. I was just finding my history, and I'll pop it in there again. And so otherwise, yep, you've seen lots of people saying thank you and appreciating the talk, and we do for sure. And if that's it, we'll go ahead and let you go, Dan. I can see you. Is there anything you want to jump in and say? I'm going to bring you on. You can just nod your head, yes or no. I can't hear you if you're speaking, but he's speaking, so let me go ahead and bring him in. Just a second.
I appreciate Matt coming in and sharing about this. It's a very interesting topic. Thanks, Matt. And, I look forward to seeing everybody next week. Some of the submissions are thought-provoking, and I'm going to begin the research process to come prepared and maybe bring a special guest or two if possible, if we can shepherd hook someone into the show. So I encourage you, if you have something you'd like discussed, fill out the form. We'll get on it.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And thank you, Matt. And thanks, everybody, for coming on. And again, as soon as we stop the session, the recording will be available. And it'll get posted on recordings.coldfusionmeetup.com. And otherwise, we'll see some of you all next week. And then after that, we got another one. I'll come out with the announcement for that perhaps later today. We got another one already scheduled. So we'll keep going. Thanks again, Dan, for your help getting them going. Thanks very much. All right, everybody.
Right on. Again. Have a good one.
Thank you.
You betcha, sir. Thanks. See y'all.